Just before summer, I got a package in the mail. To my surprise, I found a copy of the new board game from Free League, Mutant Zone Wars, and its expansion pack. I've played an early version of this game at the event that Free League held late last year, and it was a lot of fun, so having a copy sent to me was a nice surprise. So thank you, Free League, for sending that for free. Truth be told, I had planned to buy this myself anyway. The base game and the expansion, they cost about the same, about $70 each. And that price is perhaps a bit on the high end of, the average price of a board game these days, but what you get for those bucks is actually quite a lot. The game has you battle against your opponents on a large battlefield for objectives, and to do this you have 5 different unique characters to bring into battle. The base game comes with 2 different teams, while the expansion adds 2 more teams and thus enables you to play up to 4 players. In general, on a game, you use maybe 3 of these characters at once, but you can use all 5 if you want to, depending on how long you want the game to be, essentially. To play, you do need to have, though, a quite large table. The playmat that you play on is thick paper with a glossy finish. I looked it up, and it's 36 inches times 36 inches, or 90 by 90 centimeters. And honestly, that's too big for a lot of tables out there. On both of the latest 2 sessions I've had to fold the mat on one side of it to fit it to the table. And I mean, that works just fine, you can still play it, but it does change the dynamic a little bit because you'll have a smaller battlefield to play on. Because on the mat, you will then need to place down the arena for this particular match. And this is done by assembling ruined buildings, trees, and even a bus, if you have the expansion pack, out of cardboard cutouts. And it's oddly satisfying to assemble. It's also quite intuitive, it's not very hard to do even without the instructions. The result is set up for the most part surprisingly stable, good-looking 3D environment that you place out. What buildings you use, where you place them, and how useful they will be in each game, that will differ. So there's already here a lot of replayability. More on that fact later. Apart from the playmat, buildings, and figurines, you also get a lot of cards and tokens, and generally, it all maintains a nice quality. A few of the cardboard buildings have a few flaws. Some of the smaller single wall pieces are slightly unstable, but out of the something like 20 buildings in both boxes combined, only like 2 of them have this issue. You also get a set of mutant dice that you can use with the tabletop. You get another one with the expansion pack, so you'll actually have 2 sets. If you already play the tabletop RPG, you can then use the dice from the tabletop RPG in this, or vice versa. It's the same set of dice. It's your normal D6s, in different colors, but with some special icons on the 1 and 6. So you could also just use normal dice if you wanted to. The 10 miniatures are base painted in a primer color on each team, and I've heard that if you're good at the miniature painting, it's quite easy to make them look a lot better than they already do. However, I'm not very good at that, so I will not even try. The base game ships with 5 scenarios that you can play, each with their own rules and different styles of play. You generally start outside of the battlefield, and on each turn you move 3 to 5 miniatures into the arena and capture artifacts like rubber ducks or vacuum cleaners. You take control of buildings, attack opponents, and miniatures. The turn order is decided in a quite special way. You take 1 token from each team, and you put them in a bowl or bag or mug or something that you can't see into. And each turn you start by drawing a token, and the team whose token is drawn picks which one of their miniatures to spend it on and make the move. This means you will have turns when you move back and forth, doing each other's turn. But you will also have turns when the luck is against you and you just can't make any moves for 3 moves, and then you get to make all of yours, and also the other way around. And sometimes you want to be last, and sometimes you don't want to be last. There's also event tokens that, once drawn, will basically trigger an event on the last person who made a move. So you generally don't want to be the guy hit by that, because they're generally bad. And I've had rounds where both I've had to move all my characters and do a lot of damage with that before my opponent even got a single move in. But I also had rounds where I moved all my characters and basically just put them in position to be shot at by my opponent afterwards, which was not great. And all of that is depending on how you want to play it. And I think it's a nice little feature that brings a lot of randomness, but also fun to the game. Like, it, in a sense, you're not just waiting your turn, you're doing everything at the same time, but you can't really do that in a turn-based game, so this is a great solution, I think, to make the initiative system a bit more fun. Each character also have unique starting mutations and gear. Some are set, and some are randomly added at the start of the game, meaning that each playthrough, even if you play with the same characters, they will be slightly different each time. And that can change how you play the game completely, which is another nice touch for replayability. There's also a guide to add your own tabletop RPG character from Mutant Year Zero, the tabletop RPG, into the board game. You'll have to provide your own miniature or use something else as a miniature, but you could basically re-roll your character from your tabletop RPG into this board game and bring them in, which is a really fun little addition. They didn't have to do that, but they did, and I love it. Once you've gotten your token and selected which miniature to use, you then use a ruler, a special ruler that comes with the box. It's made out of cardboard, like everything else, and you then use that to define where you move. The ruler is also useful in telling you where you can see. Essentially, your characters have line of sight from their face to where they're facing, and you can't hit something that's outside of your line of sight. So cover behind these 3D environments is actually a thing. If something sticks out, you can hit it. If nothing sticks out, you can't hit it. And you do this by, it will be a lot of like lying down and using a ruler to figure out, like, can I hit this? You also use the ruler to move on the board map. So on your turn, you can either dash, meaning you run the full length of the ruler, or you can move and then do a minor action, maybe pick something up or do a melee attack, and then you can move half the ruler, or you can move just the base of your character and then use and like aim fire. So some characters will be moving around quite a lot, while others will be more stationary and snipers. And on some games you really want to be moving around a lot, and on some games you really don't want to. I've had games where I've been situated with a sniper on top of a building and basically having half cover at all times and just shooting everyone without any issues. I've also had times where I've been inside a building that is about to fall down and I've just had to get out of there. If my sniper did that, they could have just run and do nothing, whereas other characters can run and do an action. There's also mutations. Each character has up to 2 mutations, but each mutation are different. How you use them is different. They have special rules, all of them. For example, it can be that if you see an enemy shoot towards one of your allies, and you can see the ally, you can spend a mutation token to basically scream at them, watch out. There are mutations to heal, there are mutations to charge through buildings, there are mutations to fly. There are a bunch of different ones. You use them by spending mutation tokens. You get them by rolling, honestly, badly. If you roll a 1, then you try to push your luck by rolling the dice that didn't turn out to be either a 1 or 6, you get more mutation points. So far, I've played 2 of the 5 scenarios that comes with the base game, and the expansion Robots and Psionics adds another 5 scenarios, and you could just play a random skirmish as well, of course, if you wanted to. The game in all matches that I've played ended up being quite exciting and a lot of fun, and also very even. Even though it didn't feel like it for the most part of the game, it ended up being very even in the end. It is a game of strategy, but it's also a game with a lot of luck into it. Normally, I prefer less luck. The luck here never really makes it feel like it was the luck's fault that you lost. You can almost always trace it back to like, oh, if I had done that decision differently, it wouldn't have mattered that I rolled badly. Or like, oh yeah, sure, my opponent rolled great and I didn't, but they also played great. The strategy, there's a nice balance to be found between strategy and luck in board games to make them as fun as possible, and I think this game really struck that balance. Unlike something like Settlers of Catan, where I feel like the luck is just, you stand and you can be as strategic as you want and be as clever as you want in your plans, the luck will still decide the game. Here, not so much. The test game I played last year at the Dragonbane event that Free League hosted was a 4-player game, and so far I've only played 1v1 matches so far at home once I've got my own copy. 1v1 plays very differently from 4v4, and the 4-way free-fall games are more chaotic, take longer, but they're also, they're very different in how they play, and I don't know which one I prefer. There's no right way to play the game. You can play it with 2 people, you can play it with 4 people, it will be both either way. And as I said, striking that balance between luck and strategy is hard, but Zone Wars does so well. Grabbing the expansion will give you more teams, more characters with unique flavors, more buildings to use, more scenarios, more events, more of everything. And you will be able to play 4 players. That said, The base game is really good with just 2 players, and basically, unless you find yourself... So basically, if you play the base game and realize you love it, definitely get the expansion. But there's no need to buy the expansion from the get-go. That said, if you do buy the expansion from the get-go, if you want to treat yourself, buying both is great. Like, it's a great package. Having, more buildings to choose from, having more scenarios to choose from, having more teams to choose from is just making even 1v1 more fun. The game isn't completely without flaws. There are some minor tweaks, like adding some downside to pushing your rolls. That wouldn't be a bad thing. But honestly, that's nitpicking a brilliantly designed game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So if you think this game looks fun from this review and other things you've seen online, but you haven't played it yourself yet, and you feel like, oh, maybe do I want to go for the expansion? It's a great choice to do. It's reasonable. It just adds more to the game and lets you play it with more than one person at a time. However, you can definitely play it without buying the expansion. It's not going to be a worse game. It's going to be just as good without the expansion as well. So you don't need to. If you're a bit on the fence, I would say pick up the base game and then the expansion. If you feel like, yeah, this looks great and, let's just go, then definitely worth doing it as well. As an added bonus, if you do play the tabletop RPG, you can use the playmat, the cardboard terrain, and miniatures to enhance your tabletop sessions. And I just want to say that Mutant Year Zero as a franchise has always had great theming. The post-apocalyptic Sweden with its crazy mutations, yet they grounded in real life that these survivors lead, it's really cool. I mean, just thinking that a boombox is a bomb of the olden days due to the name and just someone having read the manual and not being able to read other than boombox. And I mean, street name signs having the same style that we have where I live, and some of them even being actual street signs of streets that I've walked on, and they look the part, only run down in a post-apocalyptic. Well, I mean, that will never get old. The game has solid gameplay, good replayability, and combined with that theming, you're left with a board game that's honestly just great. It takes up a bit too much space to play, and a few mechanics feel a bit maybe too streamlined compared to their tabletop RPG components, but even with that, Mutant Zone Wars definitely have my seal of approval. And hey, if you fall in love with this setting from the board game, there's always a tabletop RPG as well, and the video game from Funcom, Road to Eden, which is a great XCOM-like game with focus on stealth, where combat is lethal and dangerous. And there's apparently also an animated movie in the works based on the video game, and last I heard, Dolph Lundgren was attached to the project. I'm down. The post-apocalypse never felt this much like home. So yeah, Mutant Year Zero Zone Wars. It's a great board game. Pick it up.